Hello, fellow Rotarians. My name is Ross Rolirad. I'm currently the District 5810 Polio Plus Chair. For this presentation, I'm going to start out with a brief history of polio and then take you to where we are today with our polio eradication efforts. I've personally been on 2 NIDs, that's National Immunization Days, to India and Ethiopia, and will also share a few of the pictures and experiences from those extremely fulfilling adventures. For the past 4,000 years, this tiny virus has killed and crippled millions of children. This is a microscopic photo of the wild virus. So what is polio? It's a virus that enters the body through the stomach. It reproduces in the intestines. It moves into the bloodstream and throughout the body, causes paralysis, usually of the lower limbs, and sometimes infects the base of the brain, causing paralysis of the respiratory centers. Some polio facts. There is no cure for polio. It mainly affects children under age 5. The only treatment is prevention. And the tool for prevention is vaccination. One last fact, until polio is ended forever, every child is at risk. This is an early Egyptian stone carving. It depicts a priest with a withered leg leaning on a staff, suggesting polio has been endemic for thousands of years. It was in 1908 that polio was determined as a virus, not a bacteria, and that initial infection confers immunity. Because it confers immunity, a vaccine is therefore possible. 1916, New Yorkers fleeing the country to evade the epidemic. 27,000 were paralyzed, 9,000 died. 1921, FDR gets polio at the age of 39. 1927, so many people needed help that Warm Springs opened just to make braces and offer physical therapy. 1932 is the earliest iron lung. 1937, the worst parent's nightmare of the time. Child awakens with a headache, vomiting, constipation, and then fever and flaccid limbs. When the child tries to get out of bed, they'll fall down to the floor because their legs don't work. Polio has struck. For some, in only hours, they are now living in an iron lung. 1943 saw the beginning of the Salk vaccine trials. 1946, there was an Iowa epidemic. It actually started in 1910 and built up to where it was 3,500 at 1952. That bottom picture is an urgent shipment of iron lungs going from Detroit to Iowa. Soon the rewards of iron lungs like these. In Dallas, we have a living survivor of polio that's still in an iron lung and has been since the 1950s. His name is Paul Alexander. 1952, we had 58,000 U.S. cases. 21,000 were paralyzed, 3,100 died. You can't not look at that picture and feel empathy and pain for that child. 1954, the Salk school vaccine started. That teacher, if you look on her backboard, we are among the first children ever to be given polio shots, so we are really making history today. We are lucky. 1956, Elvis joined the promotion. This was a tactic used around the world, soccer stars, celebrities, whatever, to get people to get vaccinated. 1957, Sabin developed the oral vaccine. And in 1961, we had mass immunizations with the newly approved vaccine. I'm sure many of you recall the stalks of trays with sugar cubes soaked in the vaccine. How this Rotary eradication effort started. In 1977, the world saw its last case of smallpox. 1979, there was an outbreak in the Philippines. Rotarians there got a 3H grant and eventually eradicated polio from that country. Incidentally, in 1979, the 3H program was started just 1 year earlier in 1978, and it became the spark that ignited the brightest candle in Rotary's history, Polio Plus. Rotarians thought first an island, next the world, and set out in 1985. In 1988, The World Health Organization finally caught up with Rotary and figured out this group, you Rotarians, were serious. They combined, the CDC got involved, UNICEF got involved, and thus the global polio eradication effort was started. Massive immunization days started all over the world. You need to realize that it was Rotarian minds that decided eliminating polio was possible and first set out to do it. You can see that camels, walking, hiking, or even military vehicles provided some of the ways of access to the extremely remote areas. Our polio eradication progress. Rotary has reduced polio cases by 99.9% since our first project to vaccinate children in the Philippines in 1979. In 1988, there were 1,000 cases of polio a day in the world, 350,000 cases per year. Our successes? Now only 2 endemic countries remain in Pakistan and Afghanistan. 18 million people are able to walk today. 1.5 million childhood deaths have been prevented. This is a global summary of where we are. Globally, in 2023, we've only had 7 cases to date. Last year it was 27. And all those cases are in endemic countries. We had some cases in 2022 in non-endemic countries, but we're down to 0 there. Some really good news. In this part of the world, Pakistan and Afghanistan, at one time, there were folks over there saying that we were sterilizing their children with the vaccine. That's all been taken care of, and now the Taliban, for the second year in a row, has announced their annual polio vaccination drive. They're on board with this too. A hard truth that all Rotarians need to consider. If all eradication efforts stop today, within 10 years, polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 of the world's children each and every year. I know we're getting weary. Rotary's polio eradication effort is now approaching 4 decades. The 2 NIDs I participated in, Ethiopia and India, were back in 2004 and 2005, yet we are still fighting this battle. It's a battle that must be won. We cannot stop. The world defeated another virus, smallpox. Imagine a world without polio. We can do it. The first NID was in India. That's National Immunization Day. NIDs are great. You not only get to immunize kids, do the vaccines, you're visiting another country. There's also a tour component involved with this. In fact, in January, February of next year, 2024, there is another polio eradication effort in India. But here we started out in New Delhi, went south. You can see we traveled almost 1,000 miles by bus and plane and finally ended up in Bombay. This is just a few shots from there. We were combined with the Rotary Club of Bombay. 2005, 35 of us from Hawaii went to, from Hawaii, the mainland and Canada went to Ethiopia to participate in NID. We flew into Addis Ababa. We were greeted by 4 Rotary clubs there, and they were the most fantastic hosts you could ever hope to have. From there, the 35 Rotarians split up with the local Rotarians and went out around the country. We were in a group of 6 that went south through the Great Rift Valley, almost to the Sudanese border. This is what we found. Going down dirt roads, paths. This is a typical village home in Ethiopia. Sticks, straw, and dung. No lights, no water, no sewer. Doing the immunizations, just 2 drops took care of these kids. This is more, that's upper left is a rotaractor from the University of Ethiopia. Down on the bottom right is a district governor of Hawaii from that year doing immunizations. After each village, we marked a child with a gentian violet solution and the village already treated. We had to mark the children for 2 reasons. One, they would have follow-ups out there and go out and immunize kids that weren't vaccinated, and this was a way to tell them apart. The other reason's a little bit humorous. These kids like the attention. So they would get vaccinated, and then they run around and get back in line. How'd we do? 17 million children immunized in 3 days. That wasn't just the 35 Rotarians doing that. That was assisted by 120,000 volunteers and 15,000 health workers. They're doing this every year. We were over there for the NID to participate, but these volunteers are doing this every year. So let's talk vaccines. Higher income countries have been using an inactivated poliovirus vaccine. Others have relied on a weakened poliovirus that's easy to administer by mouth, 2 drops. Neither is capable of giving someone a case of symptomatic polio. However, the weakened virus still has a live component, and it can get into the sewer systems where it mutates into a vaccine-derived poliovirus. There's a new vaccine now. Because of those circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus, it's been replaced with a novel monovalent oral polio vaccine, much less likely to mutate, reduces the risk of derived poliovirus. Its use began in March 21, so it's been in service almost 3 years, and it's already making a big difference. This year is critical. It's a year where all remaining poliovirus transmission globally is slated to be fully interrupted. So what's Rotary's role? We have to advocate. We're asked to advocate by sending communications to our elected officials, asking for the continued support of government for this cause. When eradication is accomplished, billions of dollars will be available to the world economy, dollars that would otherwise be used to continue immunizations as well as care for victims of this dreaded disease. Create awareness. It's so important for people in our local communities to be made continually aware of this dreaded disease, that it still exists. It's here in endemic countries or a plane ride away in the rest of the world, and that communities anywhere in the world can help by vaccinating their own kids and by helping with the financial support necessary in order to end polio and provide funding. Rotarians, this is where we need to start digging deep again. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been intimately involved in this effort. Our goal this year and the next 2 years is to raise $50 million a year. Gates is going to match all those contributions 2 times. We can raise up to $450 million over the next few years. If you donate $50 to the Rotary Foundation for the Polio Plus effort, it becomes $150 with the Gates Foundation. Devote $1,000 and it becomes $3,000. We are this close to eradicating polio, Rotarians, this close. NIDs are still going on. In fact, there's going to be one that I found in January, February in India. In fact, over 450 million of the world's children aged 0 to 5 are still being vaccinated every year. Even after a country has been declared polio-free, every child must be revaccinated each year. A child is considered fully vaccinated after 4 doses. On the NIDs, there's another reason to go. There's a lot of touring in there. You're seeing a part of the world. You're meeting Rotarians from around the world. You're meeting the local people, and you're doing immunizations. In India, a person got to visit the Taj Mahal and a few other locations that were memories that can't be topped. In Ethiopia, after it was over, we spent our 10 days over there immunizing kids. A few of us took a flight over to Kenya for a camera safari and a hot air balloon ride over the Serengeti. Rotarians, we have to fulfill our promise. We have to eradicate polio now. If there's any questions or comments, you see the information at the bottom of the slide. Please feel free to contact me. Again, my name is Rolirad. It's been a pleasure to serve our district as Polio Plus Chair.